The analyst from the Golf Channel, Notah Begay the third, back here on the Rich Eisen Show. How are you, Notah?
I'm doing great. Rain's just arrived here at Burketail just in time to start the festivities this week.
Well, so let's start with the weather. I'm not going to ask you for traffic, so it's just only weather on the fours right now. Notah, what do you got for me?
Well, that's good because they drive on the other side of the road, so I wouldn't be
nice.
much help in that regard.
So is it supposed to be nice, I guess, for the actual championship?
Well, they've had exceptional weather all week until today. We had a little bit of late rain, and tomorrow is supposed to be intermittent, and then definitely there's going to be some weather expected, I think right around 80% chance on Friday. So one of the things that people will be talking about is which side of the draw certain players end up on. And we know that if you end up on the wrong side of the draw, especially in this particular event with how the weather can change and place such a drastic impact on performance, certain players will be knocked out.
So who are the favorites based on the setup and how Royal Birkdale plays? Who do you got for me here?
Well, your favorites, obviously world number one Dustin Johnson, although he's come off two missed cuts, and hasn't played a weekend round since May, probably still coming in as the betting favorite. But based on performance, you probably have to look at three players, Jon Rahm being probably the youngest and newest face that's making a splash on the PGA Tour, and then Jordan Spieth and Ricky Fowler, who have played the best golf this year. Both of them have 7 top 10 finishes this year, and they're number one and number two in scoring average on the PGA Tour, so they're putting up some pretty spectacular numbers. And with the way the golf course is set up, there's going to be a lot of crossing winds, small targets, very penal gorse, as they call it. We call it thick, heavy rough back in the U.S., but there's going to be a premium on ball striking.
Okay, so give me somebody that's not on the radar screen of a lot of people that you think has a chance to take home the claret jug in a few days.
Well, if you look at maybe options 1A, you might look at Hideki Matsuyama. Sergio Garcia obviously is a consistent performer in the Open. He has 10 top 10 finishes. So, I mean, just kind of really suits his game. He's a wonderful ball striker. There's not as much of a premium on putting, not to say that it's not important, but greens are a tad bit slower, a little bit flatter than what we're used to seeing in some of the other major championships. So for those that are Sergio fans, after his last major win this past April in Augusta, he certainly is going to factor, I believe.
Where's Rory Mcilroy in the grand scheme of things, do you think, in the golf world right now, Notah?
Rory's probably one of the, if not the biggest raw talent that we have in the game. Just has come under some tough rocky waters the last couple months, coming off an injury early in the year at the South African Open. Tried to come back from that, didn't really see too many results. Through the Masters, had 3 top 10 finishes, so maybe was starting to see some things turn in the right direction. But then since the Masters, had to withdraw from some events and hasn't seen the top 10. So he's coming off 2 missed cuts, one at the U.S. Open and one at his event in Ireland. So not a lot of momentum for Rory, but I certainly wouldn't cross him off your list of contenders.
And Spieth, he's never played Royal Birkdale. He's been there since Saturday working on his game. What do you make of that?
Well, I like Jordan for a couple reasons. Number one, the weakest club in his bag this year, just statistically speaking, is his driver. He ranks outside the top 150 in strokes gained off the tee. But once you get inside, say, 225 yards, there's really nobody better. His putting is solid. It's certainly not what we saw in 2015, but it's certainly good enough for him to be a factor. And he's coming off 3-week layoff. He played 6 consecutive weeks. The last of those weeks, he chalked up a win at the Travelers Championship, chipping in the first playoff hole to beat Daniel Berger. So only 4 players are coming in here off a win in their last event. That's Jordan Spieth, Jon Rahm, Bryson DeChambeau, and Cabrera Bello. So those 4 guys have a little bit of confidence that I would say would be a little bit more than the others.
Notah Begay the third from the Golf Channel joining me here. So much gets made of U.S. Open courses, Notah, when they're not playing traditional U.S. Open courses, right? I mean, the last couple of Chambers Bay and obviously what we just saw a couple of weeks ago, where it looks like an Open Championship setup. Would the folks at the Royal and Ancient ever do the same? I know that there's a rotation here, but would they ever maybe just throw the Open Championship in a U.S. Open style course?
Well, I think they did. They did once, and it was in 1999 at Carnoustie, and they got blasted for it. They brought the fairways in. Carnoustie is typically a really hard driving golf course anyway, and it just didn't suit the way the Open is supposed to play. And I think that the USGA and the U.S. Open has, to a certain degree, lost its identity. It used to be one of the toughest tests in golf, but in an effort to, I don't know whether it was increase ratings, garner more attention from fans or whatnot, become more popular with players, the setup changed about 8 to 10 years ago, and you're starting to see courses that don't have as much rough, have graduated roughs, and then what we saw at Erin Hills, which was big driving areas. And when you add a little bit of water to that, it just kind of becomes a bomber's fest. And certainly don't take anything away from Brooks Koepka, but he took advantage of it. And you play the course that's put out in front of you, and congrats to him for being able to do that.
Yeah, why? Why does the U.S. why? I guess why can't the USGA be like the R&A here, right? I mean, let's.
I think a little bit has to do with just people like drivable par fours. That's become kind of
really
a trendy thing right now.
I don't know, because we talked about it. I talked about it with Curtis Strange. Like I miss Corey Pavin hitting the fairway wood off the deck at Shinnecock. Those where a guy who's like 5'7", soaking wet, having a chance to win the U.S. Open. Well,
I know absolutely, Rich, and I just think it's a transition period. I mean, I think all of the governing bodies are trying to find a way to grow the game and trying to find a way to reach into a different section of the population, a younger section of our population, to increase participation, and making things fun, more popular, a little bit more trendy might seem to be a good idea, but it certainly has gone against what you would classify as a typical U.S. Open setup, historically speaking. I mean, the Opens that I played in, probably the toughest test, and except for one player, Tiger Woods, everybody else struggled at Pebble Beach in 2000. And I mean, it was just simply one of the hardest golf courses I've ever played. The rough was knee high, and the greens were hard, and they were small. And he really proved in one of the greatest performances that we've ever seen that you can still play that kind of venue. Ernie Els finished second at 3 over, and Tiger Woods won at 12 under, and it was simply one of the most incredible things I've ever seen. And I don't think the players mind doing that once a year, and knowing that they're going to be required to hit fairways in order to hold greens and get it close to hole locations. And it certainly hasn't been that way for a few years now.
A couple more minutes left with Notah Begay calling in from Royal Birkdale, where, again, NBC Sports has 140 hours of television coverage to this 146th Open right here on the Rich Eisen Show. How is Tiger, Notah, best you can tell?
Tiger's doing well. I'm real happy that he sought out professional help, and as one of his close friends for over the last 20 years, certainly never want to see someone that you care about go through something like that. It's challenges that many people face in this country in dealing with, medications and whatnot. And I'm just extremely happy that he committed to a program, went there, completed it, and now it's sort of the next 30 to 60 days is really important as well, to get the support and the follow-up and sort of reconstruct different habits and do new things that are productive in your life.
So how far is golf away from him, do you think?
Well, before the incident, golf was, I think, 15 months, 18 months out. So I don't think that calendar has changed. There might be some tweaks with regard to, I think he's going to have some choices. He's going to have some choices as far as whether he wants to pursue golf again or where his body's at, and probably starts thinking about that in a few months.
Okay. And one last one for you here. I know you don't speak for him, but I know you're tight with him, Notah. Do you think, because you mentioned about the problem that so many people in this country face with medication and opioids, et cetera, do you think that Tiger, once this all settles down for him, hopefully in a positive manner, would become a face for this sort of thing? that and get out there on behalf of those who suffer from this to eradicate it?
I can only speak from my own experience in having dealt with addiction myself, and that's one of the steps. When things get to a certain point and you feel like your commitment to a new lifestyle has benefited your life, they encourage you to advocate to others that are facing similar problems. And the biggest thing about those circles is to demonstrate to others that they're not alone in dealing with these challenges. And I think that's one of the things that's been clearly evident to me, and being out here at the Open, being at PGA Tour events on a regular basis, is there's so many players. I had Ernie Els come up to me and just say, "Hey man, pass along my best to Tiger. We're pulling for him. Just let him know that he's not alone in this, and he's not having to deal with these things without the support of the world of golf." And I just think that goes a long way in dealing with something like this.
Well, same from us here on this show, if you don't mind. Certainly on a day, this would have been Stuart Scott's birthday. By the way, everybody should go get ice cream for that. I just remember he and I just talking about him all the time, meeting him several times. And I just know everybody who has come across him and feels the same way, Notah. So please send our best.
Absolutely. I sure will, Rich. And yeah, I do miss Stuart myself. He was great for me, he supported our foundation's work, and certainly tough when you lose someone that's such a benefit to their community and their network, and certainly still miss Stuart. Yeah.
And today, again, his daughters, Tay and Sid, as they're known on Twitter, want everybody to go take their kids for ice cream today because it's Stuart Scott's birthday, and it's National Ice Cream Day is the way they like to put it. And so have one over there across the pond on behalf of Stuart,
hey, man,
if you can find some.
You don't need to ask me twice when it comes to ice cream. I'm in.
Good. Notah, thanks for the call. Appreciate it.
You got it, Rich.
You got it. That's Notah Begay III at Notah Begay 3 on Twitter.
The Rich Eisen Show, weekdays at noon Eastern on radio stations across the country and audience.
If you like that video, be sure to download our app. Don't have any memory on your phone? Let's start to delete some of those slow-mo videos you have. And you know which ones I'm talking about.